Okay, so we're going to talk about how you can strike the ball more consistent. So let's take a look at Cameron Champ here, and the areas we're going to focus on firstly is posture, and then it's how you turn in the golf swing, so your weight transfer, and any loss of posture during the swing as well. And this is really going to help you strike the ball way more consistent. We're not going to talk about grip or anything here, so any grip tips, then have a look on YouTube. There's plenty of amazing advice on how to hold the club throughout the whole of YouTube, but we're going to talk about posture. So let's just start here. Let's get some lines to make it clear, and we're going to get one on Cameron Champ's back here. So you can see he's tilted nicely over the ball, and he's got a slight tilt in his pelvis as well, and there's no excessive kind of gaps below his spine, so he's not excessively tilting his hips, and there's no curvature there, so he's not kind of curving in the lower back. It's nice and straight. And the way we achieve this is if you place a golf club down your back, place it so the club head is touching your backside and the grip is touching the back of your head. Then keeping both ends attached to you, tilt forwards in your hips. You're going to tilt forwards towards the golf ball, and that's going to keep the nice flat line across your back. Then once you're comfortable and you've tilted over enough, then you just let your arms hang in front of you. So you take the club back out in front of you, let your arms hang in front of you, keeping that same feeling in your lower back. You can allow your head to tilt forward, because if you kept it back, you'd be looking down the end of the nose, your nose to the ball. So you want to get your neck in a comfortable position, but keeping that back nice and flat. Now once we are in that position, the way we then turn in the backswing, we want to make sure we are maintaining our posture. Now one of the most common things I see in lessons is loss of posture. So if you take a look here, Cameron Champ's backswing, he stays under that shelf in his backswing. Now, what's helping him stay under that shelf? It's not him. He's not just dropping his head to consciously be under the shelf. What he's doing is he's turning his hips on an angle. So you can see here, again, we've turned those hips on an angle. To allow that to happen, he's let his left knee move towards the golf ball. Okay, so that left knee is moving forward, but he's also getting his shoulders tilting on an angle as well. So you can see here, the swing is working down slightly close to the ball. Okay, so it's all tilting in angles here. So the way he's allowing this to happen, let's get rid of a lot of these lines. The way we get these positions, okay, we've just gone through some of them there, is allowing that right hip to turn behind us. Okay, so let's go back to setup. Let's get one more line. Let's get this down here now. Watch how when he turns into this backswing, see how he keeps his right hip against that wall. Okay, so he's allowing his left knee to go forward, but the left knee is going forward, so we can allow that right hip to turn back behind him. So these are some of the positions we want to be looking for in our backswing. Now, take a look here. You can see there's a bit of daylight between his knees. And that's because that left knee going forward, that right hip going back, just creating that bit of daylight between the knees there. This is a great position to try and copy. They do, the Tour Pros swing like this for a reason, and it's because it's effective. It's because it helps them create high club head speed and strike the ball crisp. So we're looking for these tilted angles. Now, like I said, one of the most common things I see in the backswing with golfers coming to me is lifting up too much in the backswing. So you have the head kind of lifting up above that shelf that that we drew above Cameron here. So if we take a look there, so one of the most common things I would see is golfers standing up above that line. So you've got to make sure we recreate these angles. The best way to get this is to record your swing. Just film yourself down the line, take a look at these angles and see, am I getting into position there? Is my left arm staying across my chest? Are my shoulders turning on that steep plane? Are my hips tilted? Am I getting that left knee forward? Self-analysis. You can easily do this from your range at home. And now let's take a look at this right hand image. So let's draw a line down the right hip, down the left hip, and one just above his head. Okay, so what we're looking for here is another thing that we tend to see is golfers that they tend to sway to the right, but then they don't get back to the ball. And you can see here what Cameron does really nicely is he just turns on the spot. you imagine if he's in a barrel, the barrel wouldn't have moved at all because he has just stayed centered. He hasn't swayed across that line. Now, what we'll often see is the right hip moving over here, okay, moving, swaying off the golf ball. Then it's difficult to get back to that ball. So this is a great position to be in, and this is possible to get in, it's possible to get into this position because of the right hip turning behind Cameron there, the shoulders turning on that angle. If you're not rotating those hips, it's likely you'll be swaying off of that ball. Then what we want to see from here is a movement of the hip towards target, but also turning back behind him. Okay, so that hip will drive, that'd be the first movement, that downswing, that left hip driving to target and then twisting behind him. So let's take a look at this downswing. So let's see that movement towards target. You can see how it's crossing over that line and it's rotating around him. Okay, so these are the key areas to help with your ball striking. We're just going to talk about body movements. There are many other things kind of with this shaft lean. You see the handle lean there. That's another common thing we tend to kind of pick up on in coaching. We don't tend to see too much of this shaft lean through the ball. Golfers are too eager to throw the club from the top, and we actually have the opposite effect here. So we have a negative shaft lean at impact. But the areas I want you to kind of take away with you from this video, one is this nice posture and setup. Okay, let's recreate this nice posture and setup. Two is making sure we rotate in this backswing. Okay, so get that right hip round, get that right shoulder round on these angles, so we are staying under the shelf. Okay, and we're creating a nice angle in this hip, nice angle in the shoulders, maintaining our posture for that spine angle. So it's exactly the same as he was in setup there. And then lastly, it's making sure that when we do rotate our hips, when we are turning on the spot. So we are turning within these lines. And the best way you can get that, and excuse my drawing here, but is if you prop a chair just next to your right leg. Okay, and if you're a right-handed golfer, just prop a chair next to you to give yourself room to swing back and down, because you don't want to be hitting the chair in your swing. And then as you turn back, are you nudging that chair? If you are, then turn so you're not nudging that chair. You should feel kind of a little bit of pressure coming sort of down through this area in that backswing, just kind of slightly favouring that left side, just so you're turning on the spot there. But you want to be avoiding that chair. You don't want to be rocking it over and knocking it over. So make sure we pivot on the spot, get a good turn of the shoulders, and these are the key areas that you want to be focusing on first before you go and play around with your swing angles and your impact positions. Let's get these nailed in first to help with that consistency, and you'll be amazed to see actually where your swing will go from here. We did a lesson last week actually, and the golfer that I saw was not turning his hips and he was just kind of picking the club up and struggling with striking. Well, we just worked on the rotation and straight away started hitting the ball straight. We went from a swing path of -10 to a swing path of about -2. So that's going from having to have a really open club face to hit a straight ball to squaring up club face close to path to having a much tighter dispersion. So it really does help with other areas of the swing as well. So let me know how you get on. I always like to hear how people get on when they see these videos. Get to the range and put in the work, and have a good week.